You're so beautiful. God, she's so beautiful, man. Am I right or wrong? Look at her. How am I supposed to do this interview? Look at this.
EU regulator.
Tell me your story.
She's so beautiful. Conyo, man. Talk to me, baby. Tell me your story. Tell me yours. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Let's go have lunch. My God, I love her.
My God, I can't think of another gaming company more protected than Sony. They're like the Jake Paul of the gaming industry, kept away from actual competition to not look weak. Phil Spencer gets accused of buying his way into the industry, but Sony is legitimately the only gaming company approaching regulators and begging them to stop Microsoft. You don't see Nintendo doing this, do you? I may not be the biggest fan of Nintendo. I mean, if you don't like soy, you won't like Nintendo in general, but at the very least, I'll give Nintendo credit. If they don't get Call of Duty, they don't do this. They don't go out of their way to fly across the country to go beg regulators. They find their own solution and make their own cringy ass shooters. So one begins to wonder if Nintendo, with their goddamn portable tablet that can barely play video games, is able to do this, why must Sony be heavily guarded and protected? Well, it would seem today we finally got our answer. Unfortunately, I didn't expect the answer to be so goddamn pathetic and meme-worthy, but that's the current state of the industry. Because it turns out that those in higher places you wouldn't expect are also PlayStation fanboys.
Hey.
Am I interrupting something important?
Impossible. I work for the government.
Ensure that you will still be able to play Call of Duty on other consoles, including PlayStation. Also on our to-do list, update stock pictures. These gamers have wired controllers, whereas Xbox and PlayStation have wireless ones since about 2006.
I didn't know the swamp was this dirty and this deep. I didn't know about the swamp creatures being as bad as they are. They're bad.
Oh, Ricardo Cardoso, el enfadoso. That's what we'll call him. Now, to be fair, he is a government employee, so we shouldn't have expected too much. It's not like they're trained well. Don't let the blue check mark confuse you. I know Elon allows people to buy freedom of speech for $8 a month now.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Oh, no. Boss, look!
Freedom of speech.
Where?
And anybody can just impersonate whoever they want, but this is the real deal. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain to all of you why it's a bad look for any EU regulator to be posting shit like this. Because we all clearly know it's not the board's job to be protecting their own self-interest and look out for Sony. No, come on, Fred, that's not what he was doing. Oh, stop it. Sit down. There is zero reason this man should have put including my PlayStation in that tweet. Ever heard of conflict of interest? No? Well, here's a prime example of it right now. This jackass is basically admitting to everyone on social media that he wants to ensure Call of Duty remains on his console. And there's hundreds of reasons why he shouldn't be doing that. But the number one reason is because he works for a board that is a competition regulator. You can't play favorites. You can't show bias, not even preference, because the minute you do, it makes the entire commission look corrupt. Do you have any idea how much of a field day Microsoft's lawyers are going to have with a tweet like this? You goddamn moron! All this will do is strengthen Microsoft's case and potentially leave you out of a job and on the streets. I'm legitimately surprised this tweet hasn't been deleted. Not that deleting it would have done anything, because all Microsoft needs is one screenshot to prove that people who work for the board are playing favorites, and that is affecting their merger of Activision. Don't get me wrong, the whole my PlayStation makes this tweet look bad, but there's far more wrong with it. What do they mean they're working hard to ensure Call of Duty will stay on the PlayStation? It's already been stated numerous times that Call of Duty will not be leaving PlayStation. Microsoft has had to bend the knee and satisfy Sony in order to acquire Activision. think about it. Microsoft is buying Activision with their own money, and PlayStation wants to dictate what they can do with that purchase, to the point that Microsoft may as well not even purchase them at all. Because what would be the point of acquiring Call of Duty if your platform or services won't even get to benefit from it? Why would Microsoft purchase Activision Blizzard just to continue to allow Sony to have exclusive content for it like they have been for years now? Regulators aren't sitting down and forcing Sony to sign a contract that says they guarantee Destiny will stay on Xbox, are they? No, of course not. Do you see regulators saying we want to ensure Destiny stays on my Xbox? No, you don't see that either. You begin to wonder what's so special about PlayStation. Why are you making it your job to ensure they never struggle and stay on top? Well, whatever the reason, it doesn't matter because it turns out...
To clarify, I am not involved in the assessment of the merger and don't even work in the department dealing with mergers. As is clear from my profile, my comments are personal and not a commission position, whose decision will be taken on the basis of facts and the law.
Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony! That's right, a phony lives here! A big fat phony!
Then why? Then why did you speak out for those who are working on the merger? It doesn't make any sense. This is what we call backpedaling. I mean, he's a government employee. I expect him to do that quite often.
Ricardo.
That's exactly what I'm looking for in a government employee.
Given the context, it makes things look even worse. It makes it sound like you personally do speak to the people working on that merger and have a high level of influence over their decision making. Are you personally telling them to look out for your PlayStation? With the amount of taxes you rob a year, you should be able to afford a goddamn Xbox. So you shouldn't worry about Call of Duty leaving your console anyway. I like how you end your statement saying the decision will be taken on the basis of the facts and the law. Yet clearly, based on these tweets, it would seem the commission is making this decision on the basis of your feelings and your preferences. 1,900 comments and 800 quote tweets later is not the best time to be clarifying anything. These tweets just single-handedly discredited the entire European Commission. Congratulations. You're gonna leave work today wondering why your tires are slashed. No, but it gets even better because all the salty PlayStation fanboys quickly came to this man's aid and protected him even though he was being clearly biased. I mean, not that PlayStation fanboys would have a problem with corrupt government officials. I just didn't expect the two to work together for the same cause.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
The butthurt from Xbox gamers over tweet. You fanboys are making sense, Holmes. Saying he's biased and not considering the gamer. Last I checked, when it comes to COD, the majority of gamers are on PlayStation, not Xbox, man. It's the majority that gets impacted via PlayStation, Holmes.
Gay!
Honestly, why would you be surprised? Puerto Rock is in the army, so of course he'll comply with any government body. It's to be expected. Of course he would be applauding Ricardo for looking out for the PlayStation gamer. But last I checked, Puerto, he's not solely supposed to be considering one gamer. You goddamn moron. The commission's job isn't to ensure one specific gamer is okay. It's to ensure all gamers are alright. Doesn't matter if the majority are on PlayStation. Xbox users are also gamers, let's not forget. And they also play Call of Duty, and they're the ones currently missing out on exclusive content and have been for years. And you'd figure with COD not leaving PlayStation, he wouldn't actually have a concern about the majority being affected whatsoever. But unfortunately, he decided to put out this atrocious video and double down on his horrendous take. And it gets so bad that he reaches a point where he says 25 million users on Game Pass is not a significant number. I kid you not.
Whatever you do, please don't try this at home.
So once again, the Xbox influencers and fanboys are completely showing how dishonest they are.
So let me get this straight. A government official comes out displaying a clear bias and favoritism, and the ones you want to call out are the nobodies on Twitter. Corporate simping is one thing, but government simping, oh boy, would you look at that? Your tax dollars are funding soldiers like this.
Another topic of the Activision Blizzard deal, something came up.
He's recording his audio off his iPhone earbud microphone. Puerto, trust me. Maybe Call of Duty going to Game Pass will do you some good. You can save money for a mic for once. Jesus Christ.
And it's truly exposing themselves. But before I get into that, let me just preface everything with this, alright?
Yeah, that's nice and all, Puerto, but I have one problem with this. I don't care about those nobodies, and I don't care about those influencers. I care about the government official that is looking out for his own interest. Your concern with these people you argue back and forth with on Twitter is irrelevant. None of them are working for the commission, so their hypocrisy and their fakeness, it don't mean a goddamn thing. But had Ricardo come out with a completely different tweet, I don't know, saying, including my Xbox instead, your video would be targeting him, and you can't convince me otherwise. I know you better than you know yourself.
If the conversation is about worrying about gamers versus corporations, there's fine lines between that. Right? Let me explain my stance in this. And my stance has always been about this in gaming. Right? I lived a life of where games were exclusive to consoles. The biggest ones were Nintendo and Sega. But the point of this video is there's a lot of fraudulent stances within the Xbox community, primarily from the fanboys and influencers. But anyway, there is a whole bunch of Xbox fanboys going through the list, calling him out as biased. He's not for the gamers, and that he's only interested in PlayStation Corporation, and you know what I'm saying, Sony fanboy, pony, just cucking for a company, okay?
But are they wrong? Like I said, had this been the complete opposite and Ricardo was tweeting about Xbox instead, you would see what is wrong with this tweet. Even Ricardo realizes that he was being biased. Why do you think he had a follow-up tweet?
When in reality, it's the actual opposite. The fact that he put including my PlayStation in his quote, right, means he understands as a gamer.
No, it means he understands as a PlayStation gamer. Not once did he say in that tweet, all gamers, did he? No, he only gave the perspective of someone who owns a PlayStation. Not once did that tweet imply Xbox, Nintendo, and PC gamers. It's like watching a Christian try and tell me that even though the Bible says it hates gay people, it actually means it doesn't.
You guys are saying that you're only interested in this as a gamer. Okay. And not as a corporation. It's gamer interest. Okay, so let's define these lines. Let's define these parallels. First, you got gamer interest, and you got corporate interest, right? So who are the gamers? Well, you got gamers, and the topic obviously is going to be about Call of Duty, but you got gamers who they choose where to play on the platform. So you got gamers on PC, you got gamers on Xbox, you got gamers on PlayStation. That is just gamers and the choice they made to play on a platform. Then you got corporate interests, right? Now, as far as PC, obviously, it's an open platform, so you have so many corporations involved, NVIDIA, you know, AMD, you know, Valve?
Valve? Who in the fuck is Valve?
As a platform, PC is a mixture. But, as far as the two remaining consoles, because again, the topic is Call of Duty, obviously Nintendo's around, but they don't have Call of Duty, right? So in this case, it's Microsoft and Sony. Right? Microsoft with Xbox, Sony with PlayStation. So that's the corporate side. If the topic and you guys who are advertising is all about the gamers, then you have to look at how the acquisition being approved or disapproved can have great impact on the gamers. That means the gamers on PC, the gamers on Xbox, and the gamers on PlayStation. Again, the focus is the gamers. And we're talking great impact. What is the greatest impact any of these moves can have in a negative sense? Well, the greatest negative impact is not being able to play the games on the platform the gamer chose to play on.
Fear-mongering is a technique that has benefited many people over the ages.
Why is that even a concern you're considering? Microsoft has been forced to basically keep COD on PlayStation. We know it's not leaving PlayStation. The only people who are impacted right now by lack of Call of Duty games are the Nintendo guys, and I don't see you going over there and being concerned for them. Hell, I didn't see you concerned about Xbox gamers missing out on COD content thanks to some of Sony's exclusivity deals either. Curious. It's almost as if PlayStation is the only one unaffected right now and will still be the only one unaffected afterwards.
You have a whole community of gamers to which the majority of Call of Duty gamers is on PlayStation, so they choose to play there. They will be greatly negatively impacted by this acquisition. That's just the reality. It is what it is, okay?
You know what? I'm just gonna go along with this idea that that's even going to happen for the sake of not leaving you alone with your stupid argument. Brazil's regulators gave Microsoft the green light to make COD exclusive, and Microsoft still decided we'll keep it on PlayStation anyway. And they've also approached Sony to personally work out an agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, so you should have stopped considering this a possibility a while ago. The greatest impact this could have had isn't going to happen. Which makes you realize that these regulators aren't looking out for gamers, they're looking out for Sony. Because we all know Sony is the one with exclusive content for COD and not Xbox. That exclusive content is what Sony is fighting tooth and nail for. And apparently it's also what the regulators are fighting for too. Because they're doing everything they can to prevent Call of Duty from going to Game Pass, even if Microsoft owned them. Think about how far-fetched that is. That would be like the EU telling Sony they can't put Destiny on PS Plus because it could hurt Game Pass. That would never happen in a million years. Face it, Sony's getting special treatment here, and you're on board for it.
Now let's look at what happens if the deal doesn't go through. If this gets disapproved, how does this greatly impact PC gamers? And the answer is, it doesn't. PC gamers still get the game because Activision supports PC. How does this greatly impact Xbox gamers? The answer is, it doesn't, because Activision supports Xbox. And how does this greatly negatively impact PlayStation? The answer is, it doesn't. Activision supports PlayStation. So if the acquisition fails, nothing happens. It's status quo. Everybody plays Call of Duty. Every gamer plays Call of Duty. Alright?
That ensures every player pays for Call of Duty. If this merger goes through, it ensures not everyone has to pay for Call of Duty. Our interest is in Call of Duty coming to Game Pass because none of us want to pay $70 and none of us want to wait for price drops either. Being able to play something like the latest COD on a subscription service day one positively impacts gamers. So all in all, this merger happening is only a positive thing. Nobody misses out on COD. More people get to play it. Are you really satisfied with $70 day one being the only option? I highly doubt it. PC and Xbox gamers reaping the benefits of this merger doesn't mean it negatively impacts PlayStation gamers.
Now, of course, I already see the crying in the comment section. I already see what you guys are typing. But Game Pass. The key term is greatly negative impact. The fact that the game is not day in day on Game Pass is not a huge impact. It just means you just have to buy the game, which is status quo. In fact, majority of the games released in the gaming industry are games you have to buy. They are not available on the subscription service.
A military dog fighting for the status quo. Imagine my shock.
So the fact that it's not on Game Pass day one is not a great impact. Right now, Game Pass only has 25 million subscribers anyway.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What did I tell you? I told you this man's lost his mind. He legit believes 25 million monthly users isn't a lot. You don't think Activision would love to have an extra 25 million people playing COD day one? Are you out of your mind? There are multiplayer games that don't even have a fraction of that amount. The potential of an extra 25 million users is massive. You're trying your hardest to undermine all the positives here and only point out the unrealistic negatives. Don't you just love how he does everything he can to avoid pointing out all the good things that could come from this? You want to know why that is? Because he doesn't consider what's good for PC and Xbox users to be good for him, making him the actual hypocrite. I have never once heard a single developer come out and say, yeah, 25 million users is not a lot to work with. I've never once seen it.
If you're really talking about looking out for the gamers, people who play on PlayStation are gamers. This will impact them.
Get off the stage, you drunk bastard!
How in the hell are you making a video trying to call out Xbox gamers for only caring about themselves while making a stupid ass statement like that? You would fit in perfectly with the EU Commission. You should consider applying.
The reality is, you guys are not for the gamer population. You are for the Xbox gamers, you are for the interests of Microsoft, and the interests for yourself as an Xbox gamer. That's it. Stop pretending you actually care about Nintendo or, cloud gaming on phones, and stop that. Stop embarrassing yourself. Stop lying. Just tell people you want your platform to just get more stuff, because that's what you want and that's what you play on. That's it.
A PlayStation fanboy asking other people to be honest. Oh, the irony. He's clinging on to the false narrative that Call of Duty will be removed from PlayStation. And he knows that won't happen. This is the only argument he can stand on, even though he's been lying flat on his back the whole time. Everything you're saying here, you should be saying to Ricardo. He's the one that's only considering PlayStation gamers and only considering his console. But you're not calling him out. You're not saying he's fake and just pretending to look out for gamers, even though you should be, because he's a person in a much higher place than those nobodies on Twitter. But this is how a pony's mind works. The people who aren't in charge of anything should be held accountable, while the people in power should be protected. He really put out this video thinking he had a good point. It's going to be interesting to see how this merger continues next year, and what he will say if the acquisition goes through and he still gets caught on his PlayStation. What will be the argument then? No, we're missing out on exclusive skins and, we're not getting to play it on PS Plus. I cannot wait for the salt. I'm gonna go buy new lab equipment to start synthesizing that salt. And until then, you should like, comment, share, subscribe if you so choose to, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Fritonga sucks ass.